It started like any other miserable day in the trenches, cold, wet, and likely to kill you. The kind of cold that gets into your bones and doesn't leave. Not the sort you fix with a blanket or a tot of rum, no. This was trench cold. Frost-bitten fingernail, toes gone numb sort of cold. My breath came out in little puffs, like pipe smoke, and my fingers felt like they were made of stone. I was 19. Name's Arthur Wade, born and raised in Coventry. Before the war, I fixed shoes, cobbler's apprentice. I liked the work. There was something honest in it, stitch by stitch. Quiet work, decent pay. Never been outside the Midlands, let alone to London. And now, here I was, stuck in some God-forsaken stretch of frozen Belgian farmland, near a town I couldn't pronounce, Ypres. They told us it was wipers, like wiping your boots. I still don't know which is right. Christmas Eve, the 24th of December 1914. That date's burned into me. They said we'd be home by Christmas. That lie froze solid with the rest of us. I was on sandbag duty that morning. The ground was like iron, so filling bags with half-frozen mud felt like trying to scoop ice cream with a fork. My fingers were too stiff to tie them off properly, so I gave up and thumped the last one shut with the butt of my shovel. The trench stank of damp, rot, and cordite. Somewhere behind me, someone coughed like his lungs were coming up. Overhead, a lark whistled, as if it didn't know better. Then along comes Sergeant Briggs, stomping through the muck like a man late for a funeral. He was swearing about the rum ration being delayed again, cursing the quartermaster's parentage and birth weight. Christmas spirit, eh? Next to me was Tommy Price, red hair, Yorkshire accent, grin like he'd nicked something. We'd only known each other a few weeks, but out there, that made him family. "You reckon Father Christmas'll drop us a tin of biscuits tonight, Arthur?" he said, already laughing before I could answer. "I'd settle for a clean pair of socks," I muttered, blowing into my hands. We'd just gone back to filling sandbags when I heard it, faint, distant, like a memory you can't quite place. A voice, singing, but that wasn't our lot. It was coming from the German side. And I remember thinking, clear as day, what in God's name is going on over there? It was just after dusk, the kind of dark where the sky isn't black, just a dull navy smeared with smoke and clouds. I remember blinking at the horizon, trying to see if I'd imagined it. But no, there it was, a candle, one single flickering flame bobbing gently above the German trench line. I nudged Tommy. "You seeing this?" He frowned, leaned forward. Then another one appeared. Then another. Like stars being lit one by one in a place that had no business having any. The rifles had stopped. No shelling, no shouting, no movement from our side either. Just a row of candles glowing softly in the dark, like the start of a strange ritual. And it happened. Stille Nacht, heilige Nacht. A voice low but strong, singing in German, a song I knew even if I didn't understand the words. Silent Night. It echoed across no man's land, carried on the cold air like smoke from a pipe. We stood there, shoulder to shoulder, frozen in more ways than one. None of us said a word. You could have heard a rat sneeze. Then, clear as a bell, from our trench, a voice I didn't recognize picked up the tune. Same melody, different tongue. Silent night, holy night. Lads started joining in, awkward at first, some out of tune, some forgetting the words, but all of us singing. British voices, German voices, one song. For the first time in weeks, I felt something I hadn't felt since leaving home. Stillness. Not just quiet, not the eerie hush before a barrage, but true, honest stillness, like the world had exhaled and forgotten to breathe in again. Then someone held up a white flag. I kid you not to surrender. It was a shirt tied to a stick. It waved like laundry caught in the wind. A few moments later, one of ours did the same, an old tea towel, if I remember right. And just like that, heads started popping up, careful, slow. You'd think the world had gone mad. I peeked over, and there he was, a German lad standing tall, arms raised, smiling like a schoolboy on holiday. No rifle, no helmet, just a cap, a scarf, and the most ridiculous woolly gloves I'd ever seen. Someone, might have been Tommy, shouted, "Oi, Fritz, you lot bringing the mince pies?" And, swear on my mother's life, the German shouted back, "Only if you bring the brandy." We laughed, genuinely laughed, and something shifted in my chest. I didn't feel like I was staring at the enemy anymore, just a lad like me stuck in a war he didn't ask for. I didn't sleep that night, not a wink. Not because of fear. For once it wasn't fear. It was something else. Something like wonder or disbelief. Maybe both. We huddled in our dugout, chain-smoking woodbines and whispering like schoolboys after lights out. The usual sounds, the crump of shells, the crack of rifle fire, were gone, replaced by low murmurs, the odd chuckle, even singing, German, English, a carol or two in Latin, though none of us knew the words. It felt like the front had vanished, as if some invisible line between us and them had been erased by the sheer absurdity of it all. When dawn broke, it did so gently, a pale light bleeding into the sky, the way winter mornings often do. Frost coated everything, the sandbags, the barbed wire, even the poor sods' helmets left hanging on pegs. You could hear the crunch of frozen earth beneath your boots with every shift of weight. And then it happened. A figure climbed out of the German trench. He did it slow, deliberate, arms raised, like he was surrendering to the morning. No rifle, no bayonet, just a tin of something in one hand, biscuits, we later learned, and the daftest grin I've ever seen on a man in uniform. There was a moment, a real pause, like the whole war held its breath. Then Tommy nudged me. "Go on, Arthur. You always were the brave one." I laughed, nervous, half-hearted, but before I knew it, my boots were on the fire step. Climbing out felt like stepping onto the moon. Unreal. My knees shook, partly from the cold, partly because this felt like some trick, some mad game the war gods were playing. But I went. No Man's Land was a frozen graveyard, shell craters filled with ice, rifles buried in slush, bits of cloth fluttering from barbed wire like forgotten prayers. Halfway across, I met him. Young lad, couldn't have been older than me. Brown eyes, dusting of snow on his cap. He looked as unsure as I felt, but he extended a gloved hand. "Frohe Weihnachten," he said. I blinked. "Merry Christmas," I replied, and shook it. And just like that the line was gone. More followed, dozens of us, then hundreds, laughing, slapping backs, swapping cigarettes and tinned meat. One German pulled out a photo of his wife and kids. I showed him a postcard from home, my grand's house in Coventry. He pointed and nodded as if he knew the place. There was no plan, no order, just men, out of uniform in spirit if not in dress, walking among the ruins and sharing whatever scraps of peace we could muster. And then someone, I don't know who, had an idea, a ball, a proper football. Where it came from I've no clue. Could have been a sock stuffed with straw for all I cared. Lines were drawn in the frost, coats for goalposts, British on one side, Germans on the other, and we played. If you'd told me a week earlier I'd be playing football with the Germans, I'd have told you to lay off the rum. But there we were, standing in the middle of no man's land, laughing like lads down the park, shell craters and shattered trees all around us, and yet we had ourselves a pitch, sort of. Coats for goalposts, helmets tossed aside, a rough line scratched into the frozen mud. No referees, no whistles, just the thump of boots, the puff of cold breath, and a ball, battered, half flat. But it would do. I think it was Tommy who kicked off. It was chaos from the start, mud flying, men slipping, no one knowing which side was which. I was meant to be on the right wing, but somehow ended up marking a German lad with arms like tree trunks and a laugh that shook the frost off the trees. Every few minutes someone would shout handball or offside, but we all just kept going. Didn't matter who scored, the goals were questionable anyway. One shot went clean over and smacked into a frozen corpse. The cheer that followed. Bloody hell. It was like we were back home. One of the German lads, Fritz we called him, naturally, pulled off a slide tackle that took Tommy clean off his feet. Tommy got up grinning, covered head to toe in mud, and gave him a mock salute. "That's a yellow card, that is," he wheezed. Fritz just shrugged. "I don't know what that means, but okay." We played for maybe half an hour, maybe more. Time didn't mean much out there. No ticking clocks, no shelling to mark the hour, just the slow rising of the sun and the steam of men running through cold air. At one point a German officer joined in, full moustache, stiff collar, proper gentleman type, and he could dribble like a demon. Someone shouted, "Blimey, he's like bloody Billy Meredith," and we all roared. Eventually the ball burst. That was that. No one complained. We just stood there for a moment, breathing hard, grinning like fools. A few clapped. One German started singing again, "O Tannenbaum," and soon we were humming along. I found myself next to Fritz again. He offered me a cigarette. I gave him a bit of plum pudding from my rations. He'd never had it before. Said it tasted like socks soaked in sugar. Can't say he was wrong. "Tomorrow we fight again?" he asked quietly. I nodded. "Looks that way." He stared out across the field, eyes narrowing, as if he was trying to see the future in the mist. "Then today," he said, "we are not enemies." We stood there a little longer before heading back to our trenches, back to the world that expected us to hate each other. But for that moment, we were just two lads, muddy and tired, who'd shared a bit of football and a bit of peace on Christmas Day. It ended as strangely as it began. No bang, no sirens, no barked orders, just a creeping silence that settled in the day after Christmas, heavier than before. You could feel it in the way lads spoke in shorter sentences, the way they avoided each other's eyes. The jokes dried up. Even Tommy didn't have much to say. Someone tried humming a carol that morning, got half a verse into Good King Wenceslas before falling quiet. Felt wrong now. The officers had caught wind of it, of course. Word spreads faster than mustard gas out here. Our lieutenant, young lad from Sussex with a waxed moustache and a stiff back, called it fraternization. There will be no more unauthorized engagement with the enemy. Anyone disobeying will face court-martial. We nodded, like good soldiers, but no one said much. That night, I cleaned my rifle for the first time in days. The oil was thick, clotted, mud in the barrel. It felt alien holding it again, like shaking hands with a mate who betrayed you. And across no man's land I saw them doing the same. Fritz, the big lad with the gloves. He stood there, just visible over the top of his trench, staring back. No smile, no wave. Just watching, like he was trying to work out how we went from Christmas pudding to bayonets overnight. I wanted to wave. God help me, I did, but I didn't. That night the shelling started again, just a few at first, a tester, then more. The whole trench shook. Earth rained down from the roof. One landed close, too close, and the side caved in near the latrine. Took 2 lads with it. I don't even remember their names. By the 3rd day the truce was over. We were back to firing at shadows, bayonet drills, fixing socks with thread and bloody fingers. The football was long gone. Someone said it was buried with a lad from the East Surreys. Fitting, really. I kept Fritz's cigarette. Didn't smoke it. Still haven't. Just kept it wrapped in a bit of cloth in my breast pocket. Smells faintly of pipe tobacco and gunpowder. Reminds me that once, for the briefest of days, the war stopped. Not by treaties or generals, not in Parliament or on paper, but because a few cold, tired men in the mud decided to stop shooting and share a song instead. Funny how some memories fade like fog, while others stay sharp as shrapnel. I'm an old man now. Legs aren't what they were. Hair's gone the colour of the frost we slept under that winter in Ypres. I still walk when I can, slow, mind you, but I take the long route to the park most days. And when I pass the football pitch on a crisp December morning and see the lads kicking a ball about, I sometimes pause, close my eyes, and for a moment I'm there again, in that frozen field, boots caked in mud, lungs steaming, laughing with men I'd been told to kill. I've never spoken much of the war, not to the grandkids, not even to my Elsie, God rest her. What could I say? That I shared a joke and a cigarette with a German lad named Fritz, and 2 days later might have shot his brother through the chest? That I cried more on Christmas Day 1914 than I did when the armistice was signed? No, best not to burden them with that. But if you're listening, really listening, let me say this. We were boys, farm hands, cobblers, bank clerks, teachers, told we were fighting for king and country. They were told the same. Different flags, same banker lies. We didn't hate each other. Most of us didn't even understand why we were there. And that's the trick of it, isn't it? The ones who start the wars never fight in them. They don't sit in trenches with lice and frostbite. They don't hold their mates as they bleed out, whispering for their mothers. No, they sit in warm rooms with cigars and maps, moving pieces round like it's a game. But it's not a game. I played in a real game once with the enemy. No scoreboard, no medals, just mud and laughter and something like hope. And I'll tell you this, though you may not believe me. In that one strange holy moment, amid the stink and ruin of war, I saw what peace could look like. Ordinary men choosing not to hate each other, even when the world expected them to. It didn't last. It never does. Not while money, pride and power rule the roost. But if enough of us remember that day, hold it close, pass it down, maybe, just maybe, we'll stop sending boys to die for the old sins of old men. Maybe, one day, the silence between gunshots will last. Maybe peace won't just be for Christmas Day.